Sometimes it is hard to tell if your time is being wasted or if the time is worth it to be spending on different conversations and relationships that you're trying to build in your network, specifically in a business context. But honestly, I think this applies to pretty much any professional context, even personal. I think just relationships in general. So this is a really valuable skill and filter to have. And so I'm going to walk you through exactly how I think about the old tire kicker conversation. So what is a tire kicker? Maybe I can start by defining that. So in a sales context, a lot of times we think about people who are going to take up your time, as if you are the consultant or the sales rep or the business owner, founder, whatever, and they're potentially interested in your product and they are a prospect. And so the potential client or prospect that is never going to buy, but is going to take up more and more of your time, that is a tire kicker. And so sometimes, even if it's not in a sales context, we can run into tire kickers, which are basically, it's another way of saying, time wasters. And so how you decide whether or not someone's wasting your time ultimately depends on the value that you are exchanging in that interaction or in the overall relationship, big picture. And so oftentimes, if you are approaching someone trying to get on their radar, you need to be exchanging, giving more value up front for them to think, basically for them to not think that you are a tire kicker, someone who's wasting their time. And then once they perceive there's enough value, then they might be able to give some value back, whether it's a sale or a connection or a friendship. And there's a lot of different ways to look at what is value. So anyway, sometimes, I'm going to stick to the business context. Sometimes when you connect with someone, you reach out, you connect immediately, you hop on a call, and you go straight to sale, or you go straight to, oh, wow, partnership, collaboration, whatever it looks like, whatever the ask is. And so that's a great scenario to have happen. You click right away. Other times you get ghosted, you never hear back. And honestly, that's not a bad option either, because at least you're not wasting your time on someone who's never going to engage. And you can reach out or follow up a couple times, and then you kind of get the hint. But other times there's this like no man's land where people fall into this in between, and they honestly, I think the best mindset for me to have ever kept or have is to think that is to believe that it's not their intention to waste your time. I think especially if you are connecting with and talking to high value people, they typically have limited time. And also you just never know what's going on in someone's life. I just had a no-show on my calendar last week, but this person followed up a few days later explaining that they had just gone through something personal, had an anxiety attack, and they couldn't make it to the call. Now, whether you choose to believe that or not, I personally do, because I've connected with this person, and I think it's just always good karma at the very least to just believe the best in people. So that's something I preach. But at the same time, you have to be able to hold your boundaries on, well, is this person going to wind up wasting my time? So here is how I think about that, because it is extremely frustrating when you are trying to get the most out of your day, your productivity. You're trying to serve others and better the lives of others through your business or whatever it is you're doing. And either they don't show up, or they cancel last minute, or they ask to reschedule, or they do show up, but the conversation just drags and drags and drags on for weeks or months, or who knows, beyond. So for me, I start to think about, well, what's the filter that I can use to set up boundaries, but also still remain human? And so I just think of it as nurture, because the reality is, in business, over 80% of your sales are going to come from long-term relationships. And I say relationships because I think at the other end of any transaction is always going to be a human. And so I think that you should be investing in a relationship with that human, not just treating that person as a number. So when you think of it that way, if someone can't connect right away, or they schedule weeks out and they ask to reschedule again when the date comes or whatever the time frame is, you can just keep them in your nurture phase, which basically means you are putting limited amounts of time or energy into that person, and you're just kind of keeping them warm, for lack of a better phrase or word. And so what you want to do is just say, okay, yeah, no problem. And then you reschedule and you follow up and you set a little reminder, because it is inhuman to try to remember where you're at in different conversations with hundreds or even thousands, if you are a full-time sales rep, let's just say, of people, hence CRM systems. But that's not the point of this conversation. So the first step is to be human and understand that people are busy and have things going on in their lives. And then for what you are supposed to do, the second step, I guess, is to just check them off in your mind as nurture. So you are not going to push hard. You are not going to pull away. You're just going to hang around, or stay kind of like in their radar, on their radar. The next thing that I do for my own personal boundaries is I use the 3 strikes rule. And so what that means for me is, if someone no shows for an appointment, I get it, things happen. It might piss you off, like it pisses me off sometimes. But again, I've done it to other people and I don't mean to. And so if I were to assume that someone else was just being a jerk, I don't think it's a very nice thing for me to do. And it's also kind of hypocritical. So with that said, that would be strike 1. Hey, life happens. And what I do is, whatever you want to define as a strike, I give 3. And that's my own personal rule. And sometimes I want to give people 4 or 5 or 6. Sometimes I only want to give people 1. And I guess ultimately that's for you to judge. What is the caliber of this person and how likely are they to add more strikes to the strike count. But I think 3 is a good general rule of thumb in terms of just being practical, but also being gracious at the same time. And I think it's important to maintain those boundaries, not just for your own like mental health and sanity, but also for me, it's about being practical in a sense, like how do I put this? I think it's important to remain practical and with your expectations of how much time or energy is this person going to take in order for me to get anything back out of the relationship. Because as cavalier as people might like to be or sound, the truth is, if any relationship is one-sided, it's not a healthy one. And so if you are always giving to another person and you never get anything back, it's one thing if that is a video like this, and there might be people who are watching this and getting value out of it, and I've never met or seen them, but it only takes me, however long it takes to record this video for you to watch and to share it and spread it and maybe leave a like or a comment. And that in itself is not taking too much time or energy out of my day, because I'm spreading it across a ton of different people. But if you're having a one-on-one interaction and you're building that relationship like intimately, like personally or one-to-one, then you need to have some sort of boundaries in place, because you only have so much time and energy. So that's the 3 strike rule. And ultimately, I guess the last filter that I use. So number 1, recap here, be human. Number 2 is just go into nurture mode. Number 3 is protect yourself with the 3 strikes rule. And the 4th filter that I use in terms of my mindset when I am confronted with a potential tire kicker is self-awareness. And what I mean by that is it is up to you to decide what the balance and trade-off is with your own time. So if your pipeline is filled with meaningful conversations with potential buyers who are all a good fit for the thing that you do or service that you are offering, or whatever the product, whatever your business is, then is it really worth your time to talk to people that are maybe or maybe not tire kickers. And that's where I think the beauty of content comes in, because you can spread your message to those that aren't actually tire kickers, or maybe they just don't have, it's the wrong timing or something's going on in their life. And that way you're kind of there, which ultimately is another form of the nurture phase, hence content marketing. But also different conversations. So I'm going to stay on track here. It is up to you to decide where that line is. And if you have all the time in the day, if you are starting your first business, if you are just beginning to get conversations, then you might want to have a 5-strike rule or whatever that looks like for you. And it's just important to have that self-awareness of, well, is my time better spent somewhere else? Because if you have no revenue, you need to be driving revenue. That's the first goal. If you have some revenue, then maybe you should be focusing that time more on your current clients to figure out like how to make the product better, how to make every client worth more, or how to keep your clients longer, or how to take that data, extract it, and then use it to get new clients or better clients or whatever your business is. So those are the kinds of decisions that I run through in my mind. And hopefully that is also helpful for you.